Hey guys, this is New Sensei, and we have our monthly Q&A this time for June, obviously. It's been a while since my last series archery video. I've done a few reviews and some smaller things, but as of last month, I've been sick. I had the cold last month, and this month I had the flu. That's the price of working in the school, I guess. I've only just recovered this week, and I've got my voice back, so it's been a very, very tough time. Also a lot of personal issues in my family, as well as some crisis at the club, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and yeah, I haven't actually held my bow for around 3 months, and that's a pretty big sign that things aren't going very well. So yeah, it's going to be a little tough to get content out over the next few weeks. I do have some time off from work over the next couple of weeks, so I'll try to get as much done as possible. But it's going to be quite tough. It is now winter in Australia. That means that my ability to even shoot, let alone film anything, is going to be very limited. It gets dark around 5 o'clock, 5:30. I finish work at around the same time, so it's really impractical for me to film much, if at all. I've got like 1 day free each week, if even that. So it's going to be a very slow winter season. I might think about doing alternate archery videos rather than doing content, though I will try to squeeze in what I can. In the meantime, I've collated a few questions from this month, so let's go. First question comes from OG Boogie. Can you adjust your knock point by twisting the string? You can, though that's not how you're meant to adjust the knock point. Twisting the string will alter the length of the string, and that will move the knock point up or down, but that will also affect the tune of the bow. The string length and the brace height should be consistent. If you want to adjust the knock point, depends on what kind of knock point you have. If you're using thread, if the thread isn't tightly wound around the serving, then you can just turn the knock point and move it yourself manually. If it's very tight, then your only option is to basically cut the serving, or cut the knock point rather, and replace the knock point with a different thread. If you're using metal knock points, then same story. If it's really tightly pinched, then your only option is to remove it and put another knock point on. Next question is from Morton. Is the KSL or best method based on the equipment? I'm not sure about the question itself, because it seemed to repeat itself twice. Is KSL or best based on equipment, or is technique based on equipment? I'm not sure what's asking, but just to generally answer the question, a lot of people who are training to a particular style, such as the Olympic style, will make reference to the best method or the KSL method. There's really not that much difference between the techniques or the method, especially if we're talking about sport archery or Olympic archery. Most people who train or coach people to shoot will use some kind of method, and really the foundation of each shot process is the same. What's different is often how the coach gets the archer to that level, as well as how precise the sports science is in terms of describing technique. So if you shoot traditional style, you'll see a lot of variations in traditional shooters because many of them are self-taught, but the fundamentals are still the same. A sport shooter or an athlete or target shooter will do the same sort of thing, but they'll probably have a bit more theoretical background and more understanding of biomechanics. So it's not so much based on the equipment. All archery has the same fundamentals. The only difference is when you have a significantly different style of archery. So if you're comparing, say, Japanese archery or Korean archery with Western or sport archery, then that's quite different. But apart from that, if you're comparing Western style of archery and the way it's taught between different countries or different styles, there's not that much different. You're essentially doing the same sort of thing. Lee asks, when should I add a long rod stabilizer? If you intend to shoot freestyle or Olympic style, then put the stabilizer on as soon as you can. A lot of people have this misconception that you have to become proficient with bare bow before you get onto using freestyle or stabilizer sights. That's not the case. Bare bow shooting and freestyle shooting are quite different things. Becoming a proficient bare bow shooter doesn't really help you become a good freestyle shooter. So if you're going to use stabilizers and sights, the sooner you get used to them, the better. Because again, you're not going to be in a situation where you're going to take off your sights and stabilizers. Now, if you're going to shoot multiple disciplines, then do whatever you want. You can shoot bare bow and use stabilizers whenever you want to. But if you intend to train and compete in freestyle, then the sooner you get to freestyle and use your equipment, the better, in my opinion. Jonathan asked, what are some guidelines on choosing stabilizer length? I recommend you check my video on stabilizers. I've done a lot of discussion on what you need to choose and why. That's going to cover everything you need to know. Very briefly, longer rods will have more of an effect on pulling the riser down with less weight, whereas a shorter rod means you need more weight for the same effect. There's no real penalty for getting it slightly shorter or slightly longer. It just means you need to adjust your weight accordingly. Generally speaking though, a longer rod will mean you have more room for customizing exactly how much weight you have, because there's more fine tuning for a longer rod. But it's not that important. Craig asked, Spinwings or Gaspro vanes? I actually haven't used Gaspro vanes, so I can't comment on them. But if you're asking about why you should choose one over the other in general, well, it depends on several things. Firstly, how easy you can get them, to how much money you will spend on them. So if you get one cheaper than the other, that'll be a factor. And number three, do they aesthetically match your arrows? A lot of people will color code their arrows or have favorite colors or color schemes, and certain styles of vanes don't have those colors. So for example, if I want a metallic scheme like metallic gold, then Spinwings don't have metallic gold, XS wings do. So it's more of a personal choice. There's no huge performance difference, really. Ryan asks, is string serving needed? Yes, it is. The reason why you need serving on your string is to protect the string itself. If you don't put serving on the string, then the string is more prone to being damaged from abrasion and from nicks. So if the biggest case here is the place where you knock the arrow. Knocks tend to abrade the string very much. So if you clip the knock onto the string or you knock the arrow, that will eventually wear the string down to the point where the strands will eventually break and the string will snap. That is obviously a very bad sign, and if your center serving is damaged, or if you somehow snag the string on something and it's partly worn out, then that will lead to a catastrophic failure, and that's really, really bad for you and the bow. So the center serving is definitely needed. Do you need serving on the end loops? Depends on the style of string. If you're using an endless loop string, yes, because the strands are exposed around the ring, the limb tip. That will eventually again cut into the string itself, so serving will help mitigate that, as well as protecting where the string makes contact with the limb. These things are high impact areas, and you will generally extend the lifespan of the string if you cover it in serving on the limb tips and in the center. If you're using Flemish twist, that's a little different. Flemish twist has a very well reinforced limb tip area. The strands basically twist around each other for like double or triple the thickness, so it's not as important for Flemish twist, so you still do need the center serving. And last question from Sunny, have you ever lost motivation due to archery, and if so, how did you get it back? I seem to get this question every month, and the answer is always yes. I have lost motivation in archery. It happens quite often. The reasons why are very complex, and it's partly due to my commitment as a teacher, partly due to my commitment as a club shooter, and club president, and club instructor, and everything else. And at the moment, the current club crisis is actually stopping me from shooting, quite literally. So yeah, like archery for me is not an inherent talent. It's not a passion which I grew up with. It's something I adopted quite late in my life, and I don't feel the same burning passion to do it as often as I can. Trying to juggle everything is very hard. I'm your typical full-time worker. I don't have time to drive out and shoot at someone else's range, or squeeze some more practice sessions where possible. So it's not the first thing on my mind, and it's usually one of the first things that I have to let go of when other things pop up. And when you spend an extended amount of time away from the sport, it's very hard to pick back up, and that's generally what I find. How do I get it back? Honestly, I can't answer that question because I haven't yet got to the point where I'm reinvigorated and I want to really spend time doing archery. And again, because it's winter season, I feel less inclined because it's less time to shoot, and it's not as pleasant, not as fun. It's colder, it's rainier, and I just don't want to be doing that sort of thing when there are other things I can do instead. But I would generally say try to find things that you need, that you want to do, which don't necessarily involve shooting or archery. Like for me, I enjoy teaching people, so I like spending time on the line as an instructor teaching people, and teaching people often rekindles that passion you have for archery, because you see somebody else who hasn't yet gone through that slump, someone who is new and fresh and is really enjoying themselves, and it reminds you of what got you doing archery in the first place. So yeah, going back and volunteering to help at the club can bring you back up to your former level of passion. I mean, recently with the club crisis, I've been doing things like bow maintenance, like doing arrows and making strings. These things can be very therapeutic, and every time I've made a string for a club bow, even our basic junior 12-pound bows, the string looks nice. I feel very proud of it, and I want to shoot the bow. It's just a kiddie bow, but just shooting a bow with a string I just made that looks really nice, and just plucking away at a target 5 meters away, that still feels good. And really, it's all about doing things that make you feel good. So that's what I generally recommend, is just try to remember why archery felt good to you and do things that make you feel good. Sometimes you do have to spend time away from the sport so that you can get your head in the right space, have that breathing space. It's like having a bad relationship. Sometimes you need time and space. But generally speaking, the feeling of doing archery should be a good feeling, so try to rekindle that good feeling. Anyway, that's this month's Q&A. I am trying very hard to produce content when I can. 2-week break, which means to try to fit in as much filming as I can. It's a very intense period, especially half through the year where things are getting really stressful. I've got a bunch of exams to get through. A teacher's work is never done, but that's teacher life for you. This is New Sensei. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.